feel like the intro is going to be higher today. Let's see. Real YouTube is talk about optimizations. These are some tips that will improve your game play. I don't really know. Hey everyone, how are you doing? Today it is Monday. Today it is Monday. And I'm going to be talking about some things that I think are like basically... They're basically small things you can do that are gonna make you better at, or that are gonna be better through your competitive Pokemon. So these probably aren't gonna be major like change your gameplay, start like suddenly winning a ton if you're losing. But they are like small things that you can do that actually can make a difference. And I know like over time, like Pokemon sometimes will have games where whether you win or whether you lose is determined on pretty like minute small factors. And so with that in mind, I thought it could be interesting kind of to talk about some of these things, because not like once you know them, they're very easy to do, but until you know them, like they're not stuff that is super intuitive. So these are a whole bunch of different stuff. If you like this, let me know, and I can like do a follow-up if I think of any more, because I have 5 here, but I think there are more as well. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. We're getting close to 300k, which is awesome. I owe you guys a Dracovish cosplay. I've been trying to... I basically wrote this with the help of my friend Zane. I have this huge script for this big project that I wanted to work on. Honestly, I've been really bad about filming it, and I think I'm going to set a deadline that if it's not done by January 1st, or if it's not at least very close by January 1st, then I'm just going to... I'll do the Dracovish cosplay without it, and then I'll reuse it for the video, because I've been putting off for too long. It's done. I just haven't shown it because I've been trying to save it, but... I know people are asking about it. January 1st, if I haven't done significant filming and like it's not like I'll say if everything isn't already in editing by then it will be then. So yeah, give me 1 more month, please, because if I can wait till then to reveal it, I think it'd be great. But I've put it off long enough. Anyway, let's talk about some optimization. So first thing is natures. So actually, natures are a little bit more complicated. Let's start with something easier. Let's talk about EVs, because this is something that like so many people do. I've seen singles players do this, like good singles players. I've seen Pokemon do this. I think, maybe not. I'm pretty sure he's done this. I've seen like pretty much like people who are new don't know this. This is a super easy trick. I'm gonna show it to you like this. So obviously you get 508 EVs, right? You can distribute them like this. 252, 252, 4. This is the default spread. Now, what some people don't realize is that, let's say, look at the stats here. Amoonguss is 132 special defense. Let's say I drop down to 248, right? Then I would get an extra point that I could put here, right? However, I have now invested in 4 stats. This is an even number of stats. And you can actually see, so I have 248, 4, 4, right? Let's say, Amoonguss is a bad example, but let's say I want to put 4 in speed, right? Well, 248 actually is not a good number. It is a bad number. It's not divisible by 4 plus 8n. So as you can see, I have 131 special defense stat at 244. I also have 131 special defense stat at 248. Meaning, effectively, I am wasting 4 EVs if I do 248 here. See, the calc already knows this and won't even let me do this, right? 248 is wasting 4 EVs, meaning I could have the same special defense stat and have 4 EVs in speed. Effectively, what you need to know is that if you ever invest in 4 or 2 stats, or 6, you're wasting 4 EVs. There are some unique situations where you want to invest in 4, like on a Trick Room Pokemon, like if you were running a, let's say it was something like this, like, where let's say I needed 12 defense, right, and I didn't really want to invest in speed, then, like, this is an exception to when you want to do this. But in general, what you should be doing is making sure that if you remove 4 EVs from a stat, the stat doesn't change. So, like, if I had put 240 EVs here, you can see I still have 130 stat, right? But I can also do 236, get 4 EVs, and have the same stat, which gives me extra points somewhere else. A small optimization, but every point matters in Pokemon, and, yeah, like, this is something where, like, I think a lot of people just don't know about this. So this is something small you can do. Again, the basic rule is that you should be investing always in an odd number of stats. And even within that, like, you can still mess this up, right? Like, I could lose both these points and do 16 and 240. Like, I think a lot of people just don't, like, I've been doing this for so long that the numbers are, like, I've memorized them at this point. So, like, you know, like I know 16 is bad. I know 240 is bad. I know 244 is good. But it's 4 plus, is it 4 plus 8n, or am I stupid? Yeah, 4 plus 8n, because the first 4 are free. You get 1 for the first 4, and then you get 8, every 8 after that you get another 4. So yeah, so basically always make sure you're investing in an odd number of stats, and then in addition to that, you should be making sure that that your numbers are 4 plus 8n. That means that if you subtract 4 from your number, it should be divisible by 8. Is a better way of probably putting it. So yeah, 244 is divisible, or 248 is divisible by 8. 8 is divisible by 8, 232 is divisible by 8. It's an easy way to check, small thing there. Additionally, like, let's say I wanted to do something like this on my Amoonguss, right? Amoonguss isn't a great example, but I hope you'll bear with me. Let's do something else here. Let's do Thunderous, right? Thunderous, I think, is actually a good example of stuff like this. So Thunderous, let's say I wanted to do this. It's not a perfect example, but whatever. This is another small thing. The first, like we just mentioned, the first 4 points in any given stat are free. Or by free, I mean normally you have to invest 8 points. Like, let's say I wanted to get 1 more HP point. I would need to actually give 8 EVs. Like, if I give 4 EVs here, you see I still have 155 stat. I would need to give 8 EVs to get to 156 stat if I wanted that number for some reason. However, the first 4 EVs you put in a stat are free. So if I do 4 here, I also get 4 here. Meaning that on a lot of Pokemon, like, unless you need that extra attack point, normally, like, if you want some bulk, like, Thunderous is actually a bad example, because on Thunderous you really kind of just want the power and you don't care too much about the bulk. But on most Pokemon that are running 252, 254, 24, like, on a Pokemon that runs max HP, right? Like, let's say I wanted super specially bulky Porygon 2, right? I wanted to do, like, 252, it doesn't really work on this one either, like, 4. Like, you can always drop 8 EVs to get 2 extra points. Does that make sense? Basically, like, by dropping 8 EVs, you lose 1 point in one stat, but you get 2 points in a different stat, if that makes sense. So 166 down to 160, or 177 to 166, but I get 2 points for the price of 1. This obviously only works with the first 4 EVs you put into a stat, so it's kind of situational, but it's something that I've used before. It's not always applicable, like, especially if the extra point of attack matters. Like, I know when I won Worlds on that Rayquaza, we were testing with 244 attack Rayquaza with 4 in each of the bulk stats, but Marcus and I were running calcs, and then I think we saw that, like, the extra attack point actually mattered. So it's not always applicable, but it's something you can keep in mind. Cool. Oh, this is taking longer than I expected. Next up is Natures. I think Dusclops is a good one to illustrate this. Effectively, with your Nature, like, let's say I had a Pokemon like Dusclops, you basically always want to be investing in the stat that is your highest stat. And even without that, you want to be investing in the stat that ends up the highest. So let's say I really wanted, I think I ran the numbers before, and I think 172 is a good example. Like, let's say I wanted 172 special defense on Dusclops. That takes 52 EVs with a sassy Nature, right? But you can see that my defense stat is now higher despite the fact that I'm specially boosting Nature. So keep in mind here, we have 172 special defense and 176 defense. Let's see how much if we do relaxed instead. Let's say, okay, I want 172 here. How many points do I get for investing here? It's actually 177, which it was 176 before. So I actually get an extra defense point by investing in the higher stat, or by using a Nature to boost my highest stat. Obviously, you can't always do this, especially on Pokemon that have speed boosting natures and have a higher attack stat. Like, technically, you get more points on a Pokemon like Kartana by doing something like this. Like, max attack Adamant gives you, 256 stat, but you need Jolly because you want outspeed stuff. So it doesn't work on speed boosting Pokemon, but especially on bulky Pokemon, especially on Pokemon like Dusclops. Like, if you've decided you want 172 stat, it's good just to double check. This is easy to check. All you have to do is, like, switch the nature. Like, let's say I was checking the other way around, and I was like, okay, I want 172 special defense stat. I could just do this. I would be like, okay, I want 172. I had 177 before, and now I have 176. So that's 4 EVs that are saved. Let me really quickly check my notes because I didn't remember everything I'm doing. We did natures, we did EVs and 5 stats. Oh yeah. I get this question a fair bit as well. People talk about why do we have 0 IVs in the attack stat if you don't have any damaging moves. The reason is that there's a move called Foul Play, which uses your attack stat. So, like, let's say I'm fighting against a Tyranitar or, like a Sneasel or something, and it uses Foul Play. Foul Play is calculated on the attack stat of the target. So it basically, like, it's very good against Pokemon that have boosted attack stats. Like if Kartana was +6 and somebody hits it with Foul Play, probably going down. And so for that reason, Pokemon that don't need to use their attack stat are always going to want to have it be as low as possible. So Pokemon like Amoonguss, you can see the calculator actually defaults to 0 IV on a Pokemon like Amoonguss. I don't know why I just didn't do it for P2, but yeah, basically if you don't use your attack stat, aka if you don't have any kind of physical attack, you want it to be as low as possible for Foul Play, and then also for confusion damage. Confusion is also calculated off of your attack stat. It's kind of like you're attacking yourself with a move. So yeah, people ask why not the special attack stat, and the reason is that, like, you can, like, it doesn't really matter if you have a raised special attack stat. Like, I think the only use case is, like, if somebody uses Power Split, which averages your stats with, like, your offensive stats with their offensive stats. but it's like, I've never seen it come up. So like, technically it's like slightly more optimal to have 0 special attack stat, but honestly don't worry about that because it's basically never going to be relevant in any kind of match. But that's why you run 0 attack, because that actually comes into play a fair bit. Cool. Next thing I want to talk about is, this is something that people, okay, so everything that I've told you so far, pretty much everyone agrees on it. I don't think it's really debatable, in terms of, like, everyone agrees this is optimal. Next thing is kind of a personal preference thing, but I'm going to tell you what I do and why I think it's optimal. Let's say I want to use Leaf Blade, Sacred Sword, Smart Strike, and Detect, right? The default is kind of Focus Sash, default Cortana move set. Right, on Showdown, this doesn't really matter, right? Like it doesn't really matter, like, the order in which you choose your moves. However, in a tournament, in a live event, it does matter the order that you choose your moves. Why? Well, there is probably something that you could say for, like, you want to click, like, the move you're going to be clicking most often in the first slot, so you, like, you know, can, like, click it quicker, whatever. But the other thing is that, let's say I'm playing against somebody and I run out of time on a given turn. What happens? I don't forfeit the match. What'll happen is that the game will select the moves in my first slot. So if I have Leaf Blade in the first slot, it'll select Leaf Blade. But if I have Sacred Sword, it will select Sacred Sword. I actually don't know how the targeting works with that. I don't know if that always targets the Pokemon across or always the left Pokemon or just random. I imagine it's set in some way. But since you're never planning for a timeout, I don't know personally, because you're never planning to timeout, you know, most of the time. So what move should you put in the first slot? This is something that people do not agree with me on. This is like kind of just a me thing, but I will always put a protecting move in the first slot, because my reasoning is that if you're gonna time out, like like, I know some people like to put like their strongest move or their stab move in the first slot, or the move they think they're gonna be clicking most, but typically, like, if you're gonna time out, the best safest thing you can do is just protect, and then like reset. Like, it might mess up your positioning, maybe you just detected the last turn, but yeah. I think in my opinion, it's always best to have protect in the first slot, because like it's the most versatile, right? It's like if you say, okay, I'm gonna time out 100 different matchups, I feel like across the board, like protecting on any given turn is not gonna be the worst thing. And like, again, it can be bad. Like, you never want to time out, but I think that it's the most consistent. I know some people like to have spread moves in that slot as well. Like, I remember people like argued Precipice Blades was the best one to put in that slot, but I think it's Protect Detect. That's not something that people necessarily agree on, but it is something that I do and that you can do as well if you want. But I just have another idea. We were talking about Detect. Oh, small thing. Detect versus Protect. If you ever have the option of using Detect, I recommend using it. The only reason to use Detect over Protect is that Imprison. If someone has Imprison and Protect, which I played against in a tournament this year, so it does happen on a DD Mail. It was Imprison, Protect, Trick Room, Psychic, or something. The reason to use Detect instead of Protect is if they Imprison Protect, you can still detect. Nobody has ever run Imprison Detect, at least not with any success, whereas Imprison Protect comes up occasionally. So, again, a small optimization, it's almost never going to matter, but it does, like, I played against it in a tournament this year and nearly lost to Imprison Protect, so, like, it does come up sometimes. Definitely something to keep in mind, especially on Imprison Trick Room Pokemon that only need one attack, like in DD Mail. So, yeah, that's that. And then I think the last thing I want to talk about is HP numbers. So, let's talk about Rillaboom. That's a good one to come up with. And actually, I kind of wish I had my phone here. But basically, there's a couple different things that are going to make it so that you want certain HP numbers. For example, Life Orb is the easiest one. Life Orb does 10% of your health. However, Pokemon, the way that it works is it doesn't round, it truncates. So, I'm going to tell you how much damage I take with each HP point I have. So I take 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 18, 18, 18, 18, 18, 18, 18, 18, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 19, 20, etc., right? It's whatever the first two digits. If you chop off the 0, that's how much damage you're taking. So 20, 19, 18, 17, 20. I can tell just by looking at the first two digits how much damage I'm going to take. So on a Life Orb Pokemon, if you're thinking about investing some HP, like, this was relevant. I ran Hydreigon back in 2014, and I had a cool spread that, like, had some bulk and some offense and some speed. It was a cool set. And it had Life Orb, and I wanted to EV for specific combinations, so I gave it some HP investment. On some Life Orb Pokemon, you just run max speed, max attack, or special attack, depending. But on some Life Orb Pokemon, you do want to invest a little bit in bulk. On Trick Room Sweepers, for example, stuff like that. So how much HP should you have on a Life Orb Pokemon? The most important thing you can do is to invest in the bulk you need, right? And kind of worry about the recoil second. But let's say I was running Rillaboom, I had, like, some points to invest. Let's say I had exactly 36 points to invest, right? I'd say I was, like, max attack. I decided that for some reason I only need 220 speed stat. I have 36 points left. Should I invest them all in HP? No. what I should do is go up to where this digit is 9, because that way you have the most HP without taking an additional point of life orb damage. So, in this situation, I would go to 179 and put 4 in each of these stats. Kind of combining what we talked about earlier with investing in 5 stats is typically better than investing in 3. Investing in an odd number of stats is good. So, in this scenario, I would only be taking 179 damage. This is, like, if I, like, let's say your Rillaboom's base HP was like this, 182, and, like, I had some bulk, like, I wouldn't try to, like, I wouldn't, like, force myself to get all the way to 9 because it's technically more optimal, because, like, the most important thing is that your spread is functional in the long run. Yeah, like, in general, that's just something, like, it's something that you can keep in mind, right? Like, given the option, you want your HP to be as high, like, as close to 0 without going over it as possible. You can't always do it, something to keep in mind. It has come into play for me a couple times throughout the years. The next thing is about passive damage. I think this is probably our last thing that I want to talk about. Let me check my list. I don't know why I'm not just showing you all the list. It's just a paste bin, but yeah, I think that this is pretty much the last thing I want to cover for this video. But yeah, HP numbers and passive damage, or, you know, just like things to keep in mind. Let's say I have Rillaboom, a great Pokemon to use for this example. We're also going to give our Rillaboom leftovers. Both Grassy Surge and leftovers heal 1/16 damage. Now, remember what I just told you about Pokemon not rounding down. If I have 160 stat, I get 10 points of recovery per turn. If I had 159, I would get 9 points of recovery. 161 HP stat, I get 10 points of recovery. This is because 161 divided by 16, truncating the extra digits is 10, right? Because it doesn't round. So all the way up to 176, I am getting 10 points of leftovers and Grassy Turn recovery, because it's just 1/16 of my HP. 1/16 of my HP is what I heal, based on the effect. Grassy Surge heals, yeah, 1/16. Now, let's say I'm doing max choice bin Rillaboom, right? I think I've even used a spread like this. Rillaboom has like its lowest stat in special defense, and its HP is pretty high. So maybe you think, okay, I want to put 4 in special defense. Well, if you do that, every turn you're losing out on 1 point of HP recovery. So therefore, you always want to put at least 1 point of HP in Rillaboom. Well, that seems pretty straightforward, but it goes even further than that. 176 plus 16 is 192. Is that correct? I think so. 192. So if I were like, let's say I had some bulk of my Rillaboom again, and I was like around 190, I would always try to get to 192, because every turn I'm getting an extra point of health recovery. Effectively, what I'm saying is that if you have leftovers, or you have a team that is Grassy Terrain active, or there's a meta with a lot of Grassy Terrain and not that much Sand and Hail, you're typically going to want to be as close to 16N as possible. 160, 172, 192, 208, if I'm doing math correctly. Those are all like good numbers to be around. However, this also works the other way. Let's say this wasn't a Rillaboom, but like, let's say this is my team, but now I've added Tyranitar, right? Now, I'm taking 1/16 damage a turn as well. Now, this isn't relevant for a Pokemon like Tyranitar, but on a Pokemon, well, I've actually picked bad Pokemon. Let's say Amoonguss, right? Let's say I want to put like a lot of bulk in my Amoonguss, and I'm not sure how much HP to invest. I'd probably, like, if I could, and if I was like roughly around this area, 207 is a really good number for Amoonguss, because it's 1 under 208, and again, 208 means you take an additional point of Sand Chip every single turn. So yeah, that's pretty much the theory, right? Like, basically, like, if you expect to be healing on, like, from passive damage, like Grassy Terrain or leftovers, you want to be 16N, or if you have to be like above it, like slightly above it. Otherwise, you'd prefer to go to the next threshold if you can. And if you're taking passive damage, or you anticipate taking a lot of passive damage, then you would always want to be below 1 below 16N is the most HP you can get without losing an extra point of damage on passive damage. Again, this isn't applicable for every Pokemon, but it is stuff that will come in handy. And there are just like little optimizations you can do in your spreads. It used to be before Grassy Turn was a thing, we'd pretty much always want to be just under 16N. So HP numbers were like 207 was a lot, but normally like 191, 175, stuff like that, where we were like just under the thresholds. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this. Those are my little tips. I hope you think they're interesting. I hope they help you win. I hope they help you think about the game. Maybe maybe they get you a win here or there, or just like, yeah, improve your teams, or improve your ability to think about the game. They're little things. Most people who've been playing for a while know these already, but like I said, they like if you don't know them already, I don't think they're super intuitive. Like, I know that, well, I think almost all of these I learned because somebody told me, so now I'm telling all of you, and I hope you find it helpful. But yeah, let me know what you think about the video. Again, please subscribe if you haven't, and let me know if you want to see more of these. I don't know how many more of these there are, but I'll think about it. And if people would like more tips and tricks like this, then I'm happy to see what else I know. But Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's actually, I've already thought of a couple more. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Goodbye.